Welcome my fellow rulers to yet again Crusader Kings 3, and today we will be attempting another achievement run in which today we will be playing as King of all the Isles, which will require us to control all of the isles in the Atlantic and the Mediterranean without going over 80 county realms. And by conjunction, we'll also be doing the achievement Miklagua. I don't know how to. Miklagua. Miklagua. Miklagarðaríki? What?
Miklagarðaríki.
That thing, in which we will have to control the Kingdom of Thessalonica and hold any empire without holding the Byzantine Empire title proper. So, let's get on to it with it. Of course, we will start in the 867 start date, and today we'll be starting as Mr. Jarl Hasting of Montagu. Or you may be asking, why Jarl Hasting? Well, you will see why. So, we're now in the game. Why do we start as Mr. Hasting, you may be wondering? Well, the thing is that Mr. Hasting, not only does he start with a fuck ton of troops, but also he already has the adventurer trait, but he also has 2000 prestige to start off with, and his level of fame is actually illustrious. Why is this important? Well, the thing is, as Mr. Hasting, we can declare war on any kingdom title that we want and take it for ourselves. Well, shortly thereafterwards, we still require ourselves a bit, but we should be able to declare war. And what is the strategy? Well, the strategy is to just island hop our way over here and go and take directly the Kingdom of Thessalonica early on, so that the Byzantines don't get too powerful, well, early on. So, let's do that, right? So, now that I actually restarted, now Mr. Hasting in this case does have the perk, meaning we can declare war on this guy without having to waste 1000 prestige, only instead 500. Perfect. After moving to Sardinia, the next thing I did was to murder the Byzantine Emperor. That way his young son would take over after being assassinated and invalidate his alliance with West Francia. With his death, I moved to capitalize on this and declared war for Constantinople, as if you take Constantinople in the early game, you basically cripple the Byzantines for the rest of the game. So for this, I decided to hire a few mercenaries and start the siege of the great city. Since the Byzantines allied the Bulgarians, and since the Bulgarians were at war with the Hungarians, most of their army was still in Pannonia. I managed to siege the city in its entirety and won a battle. Shortly thereafterwards, the Byzantines surrendered, and so Constantinople was mine. Holy shit, that was so lucky. We just got Constantinople, perfect. Now with the biggest obstacle out of the way, I secured the rest of Sardinia and Crete before making a big move. Since I got Hastings to level 4 of prestige, I could now declare war for a whole kingdom, and seeing the Greeks as weak as they were, I took my opportunity. You see, we need the Aegean Islands, so we might as well do it. And if the Byzantines were weak before, considering they took Constantinople fairly easily, well, now they were completely broken. And so after a few sieges, they gave up all of the kingdom of Thessalonica. So now the fun part of the challenge actually started, and when I mean fun, I actually mean dreadful. Now I had to do some political maneuvering to get the needed range to get the required islands in Britain and the North Atlantic. So I decided to take the county of Leon, but Wessex actually declared war for the county shortly thereafterwards. So before surrendering, as I was not going to fight the Alfred the Great or something like that, I don't know, I declared war on a shitty Irish province to secure my foothold on Britain. I actually waited until Ivor the Boneless died, so I could take the province of Monks, as not only that was required for the achievement, but also if you form the Kingdom of Man and the Isles, you get a stupidly strong army for free, really. The problem is that I couldn't get the level 5 of prestige required for the decision before Hastings died. So if you're going for this achievement, I would actually recommend that unless you know a way to farm enough prestige to get to the level 5 of prestige required, you should form the Kingdom of Thessalonica as soon as possible, because if you start expanding as a duke, you're going to suffer a big penalty to your income, so don't make the same mistake I did. Anyway, I continued my journey of expanding endlessly around the Atlantic for all the islands required, such as Iceland, Sicily, and I even got a foothold in Scandinavia to get the required range for Gotland and Åland. Oh, and I also got the Canarias, as some people actually forget about them for the achievements, so a quick reminder to get them. Holy shit, the Abbasids just collapsed, what? Oh, I'm definitely going in against these guys, then I need to get this part of Cyprus though. I continued expansion in the North Atlantic, defeated some Greek rebels who still thought they could revolt against their Asatru overlords, and defeated an independence revolt. As Hastings was dying, and I was still quite far away from the living legend level of prestige required for the Kingdom and the Isles, I decided to form the Kingdom of Thessalonica so I did not suffer that massive economic debuff you get. Since I was not able to form the Kingdom of Man and the Isles, I decided to instead form the Joms Vikings, as not only do you get a holy order, but also get a free 1500 men of arms army. Well, it's not as good as forming the Kingdom of Man and the Isles, as you actually get a 7000 strong army. It's still better than nothing, so for this I declared on a shitty county in the Baltic Sea, as that's the main requirement for forming the Joms Vikings. Also, I will advise that you do this as soon as possible, as the AI might try to form them before you, and basically that would mean they would steal you from getting a free 1500 army. And since we're still Norse, this kingdom title doesn't really fit us, does it? So instead, with the new Coil of Arms creator, it was time to make it a little bit more North Germanic, shall we say. And now that's more like it. Also, since I was trying to get the Miklagarðaríki achievement, I decided to name the kingdom title like that. And if you're wondering why they name it like that, because it probably doesn't mean anything really, don't ask me, I don't speak any North Germanic language. Either way, I was continuing my expansions, but suddenly Hastings died, and to be fair, he actually lasted a long time thanks to the healthy lifestyle tree that you can go down, and so he actually lived up until like 108 years, so yeah, that's quite impressive actually. But now I noticed that the Egyptians were in debt, so I declared war to take back Crete, as they stole it from it a few years ago. And let me tell you, even with all of their allies, being in debt seriously crippled them, so the war was way easier than I thought. I decided to then focus on the rest of the islands I needed, but the game wouldn't have none of that, as my ruler died unexpectedly and my kingdom got divided as a result. Now I had a disaster in my hands, as powerful vassals wanted independence, and I was stuck in a war in Estonia. And worst of all of my kingdom titles got divided, so I lost Sardinia and a few other duchies. I managed to win the war in Estonia, and now had to focus my attention on Scotland, as those fought. They thought it was a good idea to attack while I was distracted, but luckily for me, I won the war in Estonia quickly enough and returned to Scotland to beat their ass. Since I was worried the independence faction would trigger, I white-pieced the Scottish, since the revolt had not triggered, and I used this opportunity to take back the kingdom of Sardinia from the sister who got it. But thanks to my bad luck, the independence faction actually revolted, so I was kinda stuck between a rock and a hard place. And I made a huge mistake. Since one of my family members had land as the Duke of Sardinia, I actually called him in the war against the independence faction. So that meant I could not siege the rest of Sardinia, so the war against the other sister had to wait. But not for long, as I captured her, and so Sardinia was brought back into the fold. But things kept getting worse, as now I was being attacked by some shitty Italians for Venice. I managed to white-piece the independence faction, giving me more time to deal with them in the future, and so I went to Italy to teach those shitty Italians a lesson. The situation was now back under control, but something interesting happened, as the Scandinavians lost their Norse identity and separated into the cultures of Danish, Norwegian and Swedish. So now, as the last Norseman, it was time to finish the achievement, so it was my turn to declare war on the Italians for Corsica this time. Now the only remaining islands that were needed were controlled by the Danish crown. So to make everything easier, I decided to plot the murder of the Danish king. But let me tell you, that guy was so annoying, as he survived like 3 assassination attempts, but thankfully he eventually died. So I called my allies, and to Svealand I went. After chasing the Danish army around, they finally surrendered, and so the only thing I needed was Åland, and another island under Denmark's control. So after 5 impatient years, I declared war for Åland, and I took it fairly easily. To speed up getting the achievement, because at this point I was getting desperate, I assassinated the Danish king yet again, and so the final war was upon us. Burn home. Thank you. There we go. We call in our ally there. He won. Okay, that should be it. That's all the provinces. There we go! King of all the Isles! Fuck yes! Holy shit, that was painful. Getting that achievement was actually painful. Holy shit, man. So with that achievement done, the other one was Miklagarðaríki. I think that's pronounced like that. I'm probably gonna butcher the name, but whatever. I just needed to control the whole kingdom of Thessalonica and another empire tile. And since Italia is the easiest one to form, and considering I already controlled Sardinia, well, I think it was time for a little expedition in Italy. And finally, we just need to create the Empire of Italia. We are the mighty Emperor of Italia and Miklagarðaríki. Perfect! And that's the end of this campaign because I'm already tired of having to deal with a lot of fucking rebellions. But before I go, to make this ending more fitting, it was time to do some rebranding, let's just say, and it was time to form a hybrid culture since this is one of the main features of Royal Court. And so I formed my Miklagarðaríkian culture, gaining all of the innovations from the Greeks and also getting a nice new color in the culture map mode. And that's a beautiful map color, if I do say so myself. And we didn't get any innovations. And that's the end of the video. I really hope you enjoyed this long and painful adventure controlling all of the islands in the Atlantic Ocean as Mr. Hastings and also forming the Empire of Italia while controlling Thessalonica. If you enjoyed the video and would like to see more content like this, please subscribe to the channel as this helps my channel grow a bit. This was the Defectus Expert, your dismissed soldier.